Eric.
Sure.
So we should be live now. This is the 6th episode of the SFL podcast, which also is going to include the Winter 2017 SFL Honors show. I'm your captain, leader, host of the show, Andy Hamilton. I got my co-host with me this week. Mighty, you want to say hello to the folks?
Hello, SFL brethren and non-SFL brethren, and welcome to the show.
And we got quite the few guests. We'll go with Liam next, who tends to have been bucking the trend and following me and Mighty through. Liam, how you doing today?
Yeah, very good, man. Looking forward to the championship and the announcement of the successful expansion bid. So I'm hoping that we're going to be seeing the red and white of the London Knights next season. Have to wait and see, but it's going to be a exciting Sunday for me.
Right, and then we got two newer guests with us. We'll see if Shan is here. We were trying to get his audio going before. Shan, can you hear us?
Yeah, man, I'm all good.
Perfect. How you doing, buddy?
Great.
Shan Varner, the head coach of Carolina currently. He'll find out tomorrow if he gets a new job at halftime of the championship game. And then speaking of the championship game, we have one of the head coaches who joined us from the championship game. Eric Barkley is here with us. Eric, how you doing, man?
Not too bad. It's winter again in southwestern New York, so it's great. 40 and rain, ready to go.
Doesn't get much better than that. We did reach out to the Dallas coaching staff, Steve, as well as their face of the franchise, Mac Wavy Jr., both denied requests to have them on the air for the show. We wish them the best. We wanted to get one from each team to kind of go head-to-head, see if we could start an argument, but apparently not. Eric will be the only one, but we're very lucky to have him. Before we started the show, Eric was kind of going on a little bit about how he got the name the Queen City Corsairs. Eric, do you want to just step back and go through that history a little bit for the people of how the Queen City Corsairs came about?
Sure. I understand it's a unique name. A lot of people, if this was a professional sports franchise, no one would ever go with Queen City because no one obviously would know where it's from. For those of you out there, Buffalo, New York, which is close to where I live, is also known as the Queen City. So that's kind of where it initially came from. However, Mighty asked me, kind of why we made the switch to Queen City. And if you go back and follow the history of Cameron's leagues back to the WFL, my team in that league was the Queen City Corsairs. With the same colors, similar uniforms to now, not the green machine that we've used a little bit in the past. When we made the transition from the WFL to the SFL, we decided we weren't going to carry over team identities because we were starting something new. And then after a few seasons, in the SFL, I kind of got the itch and I wanted that unique name. The team that kind of got me interested, and Cam's wonderful thing he has going, and I petitioned Cam if I could bring him back, and he said that graciously that we were far enough removed at that point, so that's we made the switch.
Sure. Well, we're glad to have you. Obviously, Queen City has a lot of championship berths and wins under their belt. They'll be facing another possible championship ring tomorrow when they take on the Dallas Roughnecks. That's 5 Central, 6 Eastern. And we're going to jump right in to talk about this game. It's an incredible one, kind of the story of the underdog for Queen City. Dallas muscling their way in the West in a very tough division that Mighty, unfortunately, was a part of. And then Queen City in the East dealing with Liam and Shan. I think we got a very good panel to talk about this game. Eric, from an owner standpoint, because there are a lot of us in this chat who have never been to a championship game from an owner or coach standpoint, talk to us a little bit about what your preparation was like this week.
I would like to think by this point of the season that we got things honed in fairly well. I've said this before in one or two other interviews that I've done, and told a few people in the chats and stuff. I even mentioned it to Cam through a message this week. I probably don't tinker as much as some other guys do, so I just tried to refine a few things that were still bugging me here and there, and try not to go overboard and change too much, and then potentially have a result that we're not expecting in terms of how the team is going to hopefully, or how the CPU is going to decide to call the game.
Sure, and it should be a great game tomorrow. I could not be more excited for the game. Eric, I got one more question for you, and then I'll turn it over to the floor to see what everyone else thinks about the game. I've talked week in and week out about Queen City and how they have a very unique build, going with no corners. If you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit, since now that the plays are in and this season will be over in terms of playbook submissions for you, what was your thought process in terms of not putting any corners at the star level for your team?
To be honest, and it's something I've kind of done through all the seasons, is we've just tried different things. After talking with AJ, we just didn't feel that we saw a ton of value out of a bronze and in some cases even a silver cornerback. And to be honest, we were just interested to see what a star line looked like. I was kind of unhappy with that result overall, because we got absolutely torched this year in the passing game. We were last in terms of yards. But interestingly enough, we were actually number one in the league in interceptions in the regular season, and with 30. And then I've added another 6 in our 2 playoff games so far. So it's crazy how that worked out. But, we picked off the ball a lot, but we gave up a ton of touchdowns. So I think a lot of it was born out of just wanting to try something different. And I was interested to see that defensive line interaction, because, sack plays are fun. They're nice. It's a nice splash play that people love. So we were hoping we'd get more of those. And, unfortunately, it just didn't pan out. And, defensively, we weren't great this year.
Well, and it's worked to this point, putting yourself in the championship game. I wish you the best of luck tomorrow. I'm not really going to get into who I think will win, because it's close across the board. You guys have been playing incredibly in the postseason. Dallas is – I think it's going to be about a 50-50 draw come kickoff tomorrow. Let's toss it to the co-host, Mighty. Mighty, what are your thoughts on the game? And if you have any questions for Eric.
I think it's going to be a very good game. It's going to be a battle of different kind of styles. How Dallas likes to spread you out, throw the ball with the long or short. That's kind of their bread and butter. And defensively, they're the type of team that doesn't give up, first down touchdowns. What I mean by that is that, like, many one-play drives against Dallas. They kind of make you work the field and whatnot. Even though in the previous matchup, when Dallas and Queen City got together, it was kind of like a barn burner. Final score was 39-31. So if it's something like that, tomorrow's game is going to be exciting. Might be a little, the owner is like, oh my God, back and forth. No, I want to win convincingly. But for us watching, it's going to be something, interesting if it goes that route. I have a weird feeling that it's not going to go that route. It's going to be a defensive ball game. One of those, whoever gets whoever has the ball last wins kind of things. Maybe a 20-17, 21-17 kind of things. And Eric, in your simulations, what in your prep for this game, what are some things that you saw occur that kind of you didn't like happening, and so you're hoping that tomorrow when you see the game actually unfold, that doesn't come to fruition?
Give me one quick pause. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem, Eric. So for me, I agree with you, Mighty. I think it's going to be close. It's interesting, like I was saying, with Queen City without the corners, they're going to have to deal with Dallas's pretty much wide receiver-based offense. Mighty, for you, because you have Beakley Jr., who's a strong running back, and I know Shan had Johnny English, who's a good running back, and Liam even working with Parkey Chol a little bit. What level do you think Mike Davis will have to play in the game, Mighty?
He's going to have to be able to, at least keep them in manageable downs. He ain't got to be Superman out there, though. if he is Superman, there'll be cherry on the top of the cake. But if he's able to get them into 2nd and 7s, 3rd and 3s, where McWavy doesn't have to sit there and pat the ball against that D line to find open receivers, they're good. Like if you see the game plan we had last week against Dallas, our whole plan was to stop Mike Davis and force, the Dallas offense to 3rd and longs. And for the most part, we got our way until, the last 2 minutes of the game where Mac was able to get hot and find Concord, and they took the lead, and that was all she wrote. For the most part, that's, we kept them at bay, and it was all about controlling Mike Davis. Now, most people think like, he's a silver, he can't really hurt you. Well, if you're able to shut him down completely, and then they're forced to pass and become one-dimensional, you kind of got them where you want them. So, if Queen City, went with that approach, that could work as well, because their D-line is a lot more talented than the one that we have. So I could see, them doing it that way. Controlling Mike Davis, make sure he doesn't hurt you in the run game or in the pass game, and then forcing McWavy to have to throw it downfield and hold the ball until receivers get open against that secondary, and hoping that that O-line could keep that pass rush at bay.
Sure, and it looks like Eric has stepped back in, so we can answer your original question.
We have
no problem.
My 4-year-old we like to call the little dictator, because obviously he just dictates what the rest of the house does. So I apologize to the rest of the panel and everybody out there.
No, not a problem at all. We completely understand.
It's live, man.
It's live. That's a fair point. We'll do it live. So I think we were talking just a little bit about Mike Davis. In terms of your planning, Eric, did you game plan at all for Mike Davis, or are you focused on that arm of McWavy? Because obviously your defensive pass rush is going to try and get to him to put pressure on him. But did you game plan at all for Mike Davis? Do you see that being a worry for you, or was that something you guys kind of put on the back burner this week?
No, I mean, I think you have to take into account anybody's possible weapons. I mean, devoted the talent to that position. It's when you take instances and discredit something is when it comes back to bite you. So I'd like to think that kind of did our due diligence to try to limit the big plays that they're going to make. They're great offense. They got a lot of weapons. Our hope is that we can just contain them enough and be able to compete and stay in the game with a great team and a great game plan that they have. So, we try to look at it top to bottom, and hopefully our defense can limit the things that they try to do.
Sure. Mighty, back to you. Any more questions for Eric?
No, just want to hope that he has, he put in all the hard work he's supposed to put in, and with the, whatever that, he planned to do is actually what's being executed tomorrow. And, he puts on a great, have one heck of a show and competes, and the team competes to the best of their abilities, and, let the chips fall where they may. So, no, he pretty much answered what I, about the Mike, at least with the Mike Davis question, what the question I had out there.
Sure, and I mean, obviously, he's done this before. He's put his chips in the ring, and he's got his championship rings. He's fighting for another one here tomorrow at 5 Central, 6 Eastern. Let's swing it to Liam. Liam, as a new member of the league, this will be your first live championship. Is that correct?
Yeah, that'd be right.
So what are your thoughts for the game, and anything you might want to ask Eric? I mean, you're going to be a potential owner, and Eric is kind of the epitome of a championship franchise. Any questions for him about tomorrow's game, or in terms of franchise and how to build it from the ground up and build an SFL winning franchise?
Well, I'd probably ask the one big question for me would be what have you been feeding Marcus Burst to get into to get that 2,000-yard rushing season? Because my word, he was on a tear, and certainly over the playoffs you've seen, he's been in imperious form. So just wondering how crucial the running back position has been for you this season.
I'll say the only reason he didn't get suspended was not just because conduct detrimental. PEDs, lots of them. In his breakfast, in his lunch, in his dinner.
So he's basically been boosting for most of the season, you would say.
The entire season. You know, I've been lucky enough. I've had some good running backs. You know, so I've been able to kind of put that piece of the puzzle together a little bit. If not for him being able to grind the ball in that position, as it was, we limped in the playoff with a 500 record. We threw a lot of interceptions, and that's not on the talent we're putting on the field. That's on the playbooks that we're putting into play. So, you know, without that strong running game, you know, I'm still sitting at home, but you know, I don't have any skin in the game tomorrow. So, you know, we're lucky enough that some things came together and they did, and some plays fell as they did, and you know, we're playing a great team tomorrow, and we're just hoping to compete and that we can see the other end, you know. So hope fans have a good game.
Yeah, Marcus Allen has been running all over the league this year. That man, I think, has run for more yards than you know, some of the greats in terms of the NFL, much less the SFL. And you and I have had some conversations about some of that off the field stuff, Eric, that we were talking about. One man who did his best to keep you out of the playoffs, but clearly couldn't do that. Luckily for himself, he put himself in the playoffs as well. Shan, what are you looking at in this game as a kind of highlight, and what are you looking forward to tomorrow at 6 Eastern?
I'm looking for a great game. I think, you know, both teams are deserving. I think that just Tallahassee, they just game planned wrong. And like Eric was saying earlier, it's about the playbooks. You know, if it comes down to personnel or whatever, it's still going to be about the playbooks. And you're competing against, you know, probably one of the greatest offensive minds with T-Pat, and so to beat them like y'all beat them, I thought that was a great accomplishment, Eric. They just, you know, they fell short that week, and it really surprised a lot of people. So,
It surprised me.
well, I mean, from a lot of people's standpoint, I think you surprised a lot of people. But with a great running back like that, it's always dangerous. So when Tallahassee, you know, bit on the dangerous run because they thought that's what you were going to do, you beat them deep. So really great game plan. Maybe you'll have the cards to beat Dallas this week.
Yeah, I think it'll be a very good game. Eric, I mean, talking about how he might have lucked his way into this one, Shan says, from what I was gathering from that, it sounds like, Shan, you think last week was the battle for Queen City, and this week will be a little bit easier than last week. I don't discredit Dallas that much. I think Steve has put together a great organization. Mac Wavy Jr., for as many times as interceptions as he's thrown this season, somehow he's been able to dig Dallas out of a hole. The other thing I want to talk to Eric about is his receiving core, because I'll be honest with you, when I looked at your receiving core on paper before the season, it didn't blow me out of the water, Eric, but they've been doing what they need to. Talk to me a little bit about Alex Shayatovich, as well as some of the other receivers you have. I know Haynes is on there. How have they been playing in terms of playing with Caswell, and how has that kind of affected Marcus Allen and his ability to run the ball and kind of spread the field for you guys?
I think as we got the passing game going a little bit more through the second half of the season, I think it made teams kind of respect our 50-50 offense a little bit better. You know, we tossed a ton of interceptions in the first half of the season, at the first 3 quarters of the season, and that's, you know, solely on me. But I think that Shayatovic, he's got to be he's either 5'9" or 5'10". He's got to be the shortest number one receiver in the league, and the guy had over 1,000 yards and 7 or 8 touchdowns maybe. And then Haynes as a bronze with the number 2, he caught a touchdown pass, and I believe the last 7 games straight. So it's just they did it enough to kind of to make us not entirely one-dimensional, because there were a few games the passing game actually carried us earlier in the season. So they've done enough. I think it's all I could have asked for from a silver and 2 bronze in there. No tight end or anything. You would expect. I have 5 guys on offense and 7 on defense, and my defense is brutal. So we just got some good matchups, I guess, sometimes, and some star performances here or there, and then obviously Boas was able to grind all season. So we got on the right end of things. And as a side note, that Boas position, for anybody out there listening, any new rookies that are going to be around, we're going to have a gold running back that's going to need filled next year. So for this game tomorrow, if you're interested, hit me up, because we're going to have a spot for a guy that's going to be the focal point of our offense.
Yeah, and that's a fair point that Eric brings up. The league voted for free agency to start following the championship game. So any prospective players out there, not only to Eric, but to any team, if you're looking to get involved with the league, this is the perfect time. Is right now, because you can watch one of the best games of the season tomorrow, and then hop on a team sometime next week and get ready. Cam and I have already had discussions about next season, when we're going to start it up, what it's going to look like. Oh, man, we got some stuff coming for you guys. And, boy, is it going to be exciting. Eric, I had the pleasure of calling the Sioux Falls game. I don't know if you watched it live or what. Talk to me a little bit about what's going through your mind as you guys start to pick off this team, and then finish the thing off with a Stenzo Woods Jr. interception that knocks the Sparrows out of the playoffs. Jason, I know he tries so hard to get to the playoffs every single year, does so well in the regular season, and you did it again to him. First off, do you want to apologize maybe? And then second off, talk to me about what was going through your head during that interception.
Both the teams that we had the good fortune to face and go up against in the playoffs, great organizations, they're great owners and great guys. They deserve it more than me probably to be here. Both hard workers and guys that need their shot to be where they are. So hats off to them. And not just them, but everybody in this league, pretty much from top to bottom. We got a core group, and everyone should be, where I'm sitting right now. So it's, I feel pretty lucky to be the guy this season. Who knows where we'll be next season. As per that game specifically, it was kind of back and forth and got close there at the end, and with not having, bring up the non-star cornerbacks again, having a bunch of DBs on the field, and then only 2 of them are star players. To be honest, I'm not going to that situation with a ton of confidence, but we fell on the right side of that coin, and we're lucky enough to kind of put our stamp on that game. And it's in a game like that, it's a shame that both teams can't move on and somebody has to lose, but. We took it on, and hopefully we can bring this one home for the East.
Hey, there's an idea you're talking about. Talk about rule suggestions, double elimination playoffs. Now we're just getting too far into it. That would be something. I wish you the best tomorrow in what should be a very close and well-fought battle. 2 great owners, Steve and you, Eric. May 7th, that's tomorrow, 5 Central, 6 Eastern on simulationfl.com if you want to join and become a player, youtube.com/simulationfl/live at 6 Eastern, 5 Central will get you to the game. Does anyone have any last comments about the game before we start moving on to some of the other stuff we want to cover, and boy, is there a lot.
I'd like to ask Eric.
Yeah, go for it.
If he would mind giving his 2 cents on what he thinks that Steven's going to plan for tomorrow, and how he orchestrated his team to win that game.
You know, if I was in Steven's shoes, I would probably just give it to Wavy and let him just try to exploit my poor defense. You know, do what they've been doing. You know, their passing, their pass attack is going up against the worst pass defense. I don't know how you could be asking for a better matchup there. So they have a ton of weapons. You know, we play really well against the run, but play really bad against the pass. You know, 2 just different ends of the spectrum. So I think if I were him, and I would just try to exploit that a lot, and maybe let Boas grind it out, because if they keep scoring, you know, my team isn't probably going to be able to keep pace with touchdown after touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. Not when we're trying to grind the ball on the ground a lot. So, you know, we'll see. You know, he could also go the other direction and say, hey, we're going to let our running back kind of try to surprise them, thinking that they're not going to be waiting for it. So I'm sure that they've been in the film room and grinding it out all week, you know, looking at all the things that we do bad, and, you know, probably going to do a good job of coming up with a game plan that's, well, at nothing less, make it entertaining for everybody watching, and, you know, hopefully, you know, for him, he gets a good result.
Eric, I think you're being a little too modest here. You know, you are in the game too, buddy. Just because we want him to do well doesn't mean that we don't want you to win either.
You know, I just want to compete, and, you know, be able to put a product out there that I'm proud of, and you know, that everybody likes, and, you know, that betters our community that we have going on.
So you're saying if you win this game, do you think you'll see a lot more non-star corners?
You know, I think to an extent the SFL is kind of like the NFL, and it's a little bit of a copycat league. You know, and you saw how some other teams had some, in my own house, you know, we saw some other teams had some good things happen with D-lines. That's why we were like, hey, let's jump on some D-linemen. For us, I couldn't figure it out, you know, so it didn't work too well. But who knows? I mean, maybe you'll see a team next year of 7 Marcus Boases and a quarterback and a receiver or 2, and nobody on defense. Anything's possible in this league. That's one of the great things about it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think who knows how this round of champions will affect the build of the future teams. We're going to get into we're getting 3 expansion teams next year. Before we get to that, does anyone have any last questions for Eric? Let me double check the chat, make sure we're good there. Yeah, we're good there. Does anyone on the panel have any more questions for Eric before we let him out of the hot seat?
When you get your 4th championship ring, are you going to do what Belichick does in New England and put it on his boat? You're gonna have 4 rings on your boat at the end of this week. I'm sure.
You know, if I'm lucky enough, I might have a moment with AJ and a few of the guys that have still kind of stuck around. My users were a little decimated with the unfortunate events of the year. I had a few guys, but they were all kind of tied to what happened earlier. So it's been slim pickings in the QCC room, but the few guys that are kind of crawled back out of the shadows, and AJ, you know, we'll have a moment, and then it's to be honest, I've already started, you know, looking towards next year, irregardless of what the outcome of tomorrow's game is. You know, I think everybody in this league, or I expect that most people in this league that have already kind of started doing that. So I think we'd be behind the 8 ball again, regardless of what happens tomorrow if we didn't. So you know, it'll be I think either team that wins, you know, they'll take a moment and celebrate a little bit, and then it'll be just you know, SFL business as usual.
Well, on that note, let's go ahead and let Eric out of the hot seat. He's welcome to stick with us. We're going to keep moving. We're going to move into rule changes next. Like Eric talked about, we'll be moving to next season. Next season, lots of changes coming with us. The biggest one of which that I want to talk about first is the owners approve at an 81 to 19% rating that the owners will cover the cost for players next year. So if you are a potential player or a current player, there will be no fee for you next year. The owners are going to cover that. They voted to cancel out the player fees. I think this is a great move for the league. With that, the owners, excuse me, not me. I have no votes. The owners approved at 75% that star players can be signed during the season for the first time in SFL history through week 8, meaning that non-stars will no longer be in existence. If you're a player in the league, you're going to want to move up to a star level. And then by a 14-2 vote, SFL owners eliminated cross-conference play. And then there was an ability change rule that increased, a salary cap increase, as well as some changes to owners, players following their names. The rookie ability limit has changed. We increased the silver star level. We allowed a 20-pound change difference in terms of weight. So you can add or subtract 20 pounds from your player if you ate a lot of hamburgers or if you hit the gym real hard in the off season. We voted on how we're going to handle account verification. That's going to be on a league level, as well as a new code of conduct. So those are some of the things that passed through, and then there's some more specifics down here. But in terms of the playoff format for next year, it's going to remain in conference, 4-team tables from each conference, so still 8 teams in the playoffs. And they're going to play throughout their conference. So the only cross-conference game will be the championship. And the league raised the salary cap by $10 million to $70 million, so that means more abilities for more players. And the ability change limit has raised from 6 to 8, so owners are allowed to change 8 abilities this offseason per player. We'll start with Eric since he's still with us. Eric, what rule change stuck out to you as the most important, best, etc.? What rule change here is widest or biggest in your eyes?
I honestly think it's probably split between 2. First of all, getting rid of player fees. I think that it's probably going to obviously bring some more people in. I think the only negative point of that, and not that I was the hugest fan of the model, the previous pay fee for players before, but I got to wonder, next year when we're sitting around this time, what the engagement is with the free people that maybe come in and stay for a week or 2 and then kind of take off. And I don't have the answer to that. I'm not. I'm hoping that we can keep as a league and as owners and as other members of the community can keep those people engaged and around. But to kind of look at both sides of the coin, you got to wonder what's going to keep some of those people around, especially. If they're on a team that gets off to a rough start and kind of takes a nosedive and turns it around, then they end up there's not a bunch of guys in there. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I think it's great for short term, getting some fans and getting some butts in the seats. Secondly, I think the other huge thing is the $10 million salary cap increase. I'll come out and say I voted against it. I don't know if necessarily just throwing more abilities at players is gonna change the play maybe a whole lot, or if now 5 seasons from now we're gonna put an asterisk beside this season because this is the year that everyone was like on PEDs because they had the 3 goals with 5 abilities each. Now, I don't know. I hope that's not what happens. I'm hoping the play does get a little bit better, obviously. But I personally, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but I think it makes it a little bit more strategic when we have to be a little bit more lean with our money. But that's just my own feeling. Everybody's in this for kind of different reasons and likes different things, and I appreciate that. So for me, those were the 2 things that kind of stuck out as the big rule changes.
Yeah, and can always move back down in terms of if the adding more abilities, $10 million more in salary cap. If that doesn't work out, we can always vote it, or they can always vote it back down. Andrew wanted me to clarify: ability changes, the 8 of them are per team, not per player. Apparently, I misspoke. My apologies for that. Mighty, you are probably the next guy who's been here the longest besides Eric. What about these rule changes is sticking out to you as an owner?
The fact that we could sign star players until week 8, what that means specifically is that any new user that was to jump on the team, there will be a post on the main website, Simulation NFL website, with which teams have open positions, which are being currently held by non-users. If you want to play quarterback, running back, receiver, just go to that job, that board posting opening, so you can jump in, right then and there. If you want to be like a silver running back for Tallahassee, because let's say, they have a non-user there, you'll be their silver running back, being coached by the silver running back whisperer. If you want to play star safety and you see there's an opening in Alaska, come be a star safety for Alaska. So there are no more generic stars anymore. We're all about filling spots with stars. So that stood out to me, as well as the salary cap going up by 10. Eric there the same amount on this one. It was more strategic, to have the 60 and have to fiddle around to try to, can I afford that ability? Yeah, I really want that ability on this player. What that means, well, that player can't have that, as opposed to, abilities for everyone, kind of thing. So it goes, but I still believe it's still going to come down to the people that prepare the best and have a plan in mind and stick to that plan. They'll succeed. So we'll see if that next season, and we'll see how good that belief is.
Yeah, it'll be a very interesting. I think Eric brings up some good points about how these changes will affect the rest of the league fold. Shan, you're probably next here in line in terms of length in the league. Talk to me a little bit about what change stands out to you as a potential owner.
I would have to say the coaches paying the fee for the players, because that just makes my job easier as far as recruiting. Lost, like last year, lost some potential players because had to pay, which some of them are back this season, but still the fact of the matter is I could have got them last season. And yes, I did have 33 user players on my team. They could have went somewhere else, and been a star, but the whole fact of the matter was they had to pay. And so I think that, drove some people away, and this year we won't have that option. So,
I think that's a very fair point. One thing that I was talking about was that, I think Shan, you and I have had this discussion on our own. With the players paying, it makes it hard for new people to join the league. We have a stronger core because people are more committed, like Eric was saying, when they put their monies forward for it. But in terms of bringing new people in, less people are likely to join something that they have to pay for without having watched it before. And as a generic user, like we had, it's harder to follow something for long periods of time and enjoy it when your stats aren't tracked, your player's not getting much action, etc.
Right.
the thing that comes with eliminating this spot is that anyone can join as a star, and then they are allowed, they get their stats tracked by DAX Stats. They're able to really invest in it, and so that they can go, you know what, this is great. I want to be an owner, or I want to be a coach. Eric brings up a very good point that nothing's really tying them to the league, but I'm with Shan here a little bit. I think it opens us up to bringing in more people who can really invest themselves into the league in different areas, whether it be ownership, coaching, podcasts, play-by-play commentators, etc. Liam, you are the newest one. What about these changes stands out to you as another potential owner?
I mean, I have to share Shan's sentiments with regards to the fees for the players. I mean, the way I look at things is this is going to be a transition off season for the SFL. Obviously, you're seeing over the past few weeks we've got the new presentation for the matches. We got the new website, and things are moving quite quickly in terms of preparing things for the future. So to have this, and obviously I know that there's been pressure from within the league and externally about the fees. For me personally, the responsibility that we are taking on as owners, because I'm one of the people who, obviously the expansion teams did get a chance to vote on it, and it would have been taken into account dependent on what the results of the expansion bid are. And for me, I thought we should take on the burden of having the fees instead of having the players do it, because then you can say players come on board, they get involved in whatever capacity, and then they can go on and do something bigger and better within the league. And then obviously the more committed they are, the more chance you have of getting them involved in that type of thing, like ownership, where they are paying for their team. And there's going to be further expansion down the line. So I think that everything that I've seen so far, I think, is a positive. I would have preferred, I think, did you mention it was 70 million the cap went up to?
Yes,
I think that was the
70 million.
Yeah, I would have preferred to see the smaller amount. I would have preferred a slighter increase as opposed to the large increase that we got. But, you know, it's going to be an intensely competitive market for getting players on board. I think you'll see with the lightening of load on players in terms of financial, the financial aspect, I definitely think you will see a lot more people come on board now, and I think that's only positive for the league.
I think we all these rules are improvements, or potentially could be improvements. And like I was saying with Eric's comments about whether we'll have to put an asterisk on some of these stat lines or whatnot, which we very well could have to at some point. If that is the case, ownership always has the opportunity to vote back to what the options were. Cam is a very responsible commissioner in terms of he's going to do what's best for the league, even if it means taking a step back. One way we're stepping forward, however, is the 3 expansion teams that will be announced tomorrow at halftime of the championship game, which is on the screen now. That's going to be May 7th, Sunday, 6 Eastern, 5 Central. Halftime of that game, 3 new teams will enter the SFL fold, the owners page. The 3 of us here, 3 out of 5 of us are potential ownership bids, and the other 2 are owners who would have voted on those bids. So we have quite the panel here. We'll go in reverse order. We'll start with Liam, who is the newest. Liam, you put in your first bid. You're with James on this one, James Richards. Talk to me a little bit about how you're feeling heading into tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for to find out. Obviously, put quite a decent amount of work in over the past month or so to get to this stage. And bringing James on board, we had a constructive meeting last week, and I'm sure whatever happens with the bid, he'll end up being a great head coach. He's got a strong scouting repertoire that he can go to. So I think I'm feeling very positive about our chances. You've got two strong bids from foreign countries. So you've obviously got Vancouver with yourself, Andy, and then us with London. Broadening the appeal of the SFL to new horizons, I think can only be a positive thing for the league. So we're excited, and I'm keen to see what happens. I'm feeling quietly confident. I mean, I know that it's kind of a dark horse bid, obviously, with maybe the lack of experience on my side. But I think what I can bring to the table in terms of my own experiences outside of the SFL, in order to be able to provide that, I think that would be an advantage, certainly for me. But we will see. It's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing the game and seeing what happens at halftime. So.
Sure, and then I, as you mentioned, have the Vancouver bid. I'm comfortable with whatever result comes up. I think the ownership group is a wonderful group. They know exactly what they're looking for in terms of owners and the skill and professionalism it takes in order to own a team. So whatever the outcome is, I'm confident that they're making the right choice. I did apply last year. I was very frustrated in not getting it last year. This year, a little more comfortable in terms of whichever outcome happens. Shan has the Chicago bid, also a potential Coach of the Year candidate. Mighty won that one last year and then converted that into an ownership spot. Shan, how are you feeling about tomorrow?
I'm still nervous, man. I can't say for sure that my gut's saying, yeah, I'll get it. There's a lot of variables that goes on, with getting a team. I think I, tried my best to put all I had on the field and just let my record show from that, just the dedication, work ethic, just, grinding away at it and, never giving up. I think that if I didn't get a team this season, it wouldn't be the end of the world. I would just work even harder to own a team next season, or, it's all about moving forward. And but I mean, I'm excited. I can't wait to see the results. Hopefully I'll get a team with a 4-1 record as a head coach. So we'll just have to see.
And Cam in the chat has said he's just proud of himself for not having spilled the beans to anyone yet. And then a surprise visit from Derek Overstreet, the runner-up in last season's championship game, the Louisville Wolfpack, losing to Minneapolis last season. Both teams out of the SFL now. Derek says if Queen City doesn't win tomorrow, there will be riots in Louisville, apparently. So I guess with that, we'll toss it to Eric if he's still here. Eric, talk to me a little bit about ownership and what it means and what you're looking for out of the 3 new owners that will come into the fold tomorrow.
I'd like to start off. Great group of guys to select from this year. It's a shame that we're not in a position that that couldn't bring on more than just 3. It makes it tough, and like you said, we never want to put anyone off and send them another direction. So just keep plugging away and everyone doing their thing, and you keep doing the right things and you get your shot. I think we're looking for someone that's gonna. Not that we expect that all the owners are going to get along and be buddy and friends, but I think at the end of the day that we just expect that someone that's going to represent the SFL appropriately. I think that has even become more of light in what happens on and off through the different things that through the history. I think we're looking for someone that just wants to be part of the brand and wants to be successful. Not only for their team and their players, but also for Cam and this grand dream that he has us all swept up in. We're not looking for someone just to be a placeholder. And I don't think that, there's no one in this year's crop that is like that. So the decision, is pretty hard, to be honest. And you always feel like that someone may go the other direction because they don't succeed with the first try. I'll tell you, if I was a first-time guy applying to be an owner right now, if I hadn't been a guy that had been around since WFL 1, I wouldn't get a shot. I'd have to keep grinding away and trying because stuff that you guys bring to the table now is pretty great. And it's going to make our franchises in our league and our community a lot stronger.
Sure, and then I mentioned Mighty won Coach of the Year last year, transitioned that into a Owner of the Year. Shan Varner potentially had the nomination, is going to try and do that. We'll get to the SFL Honors next. Mighty, as someone who won that thing and then moved to an expansion team, taking his expansion team to the playoffs, talk a little bit to Shan about what the challenges are of that.
Well, I think that Shan has having a head coaching gig, having coached both sides of the ball, having had to kind of manage personalities in that Carolina chat room. He kind of understands a little bit everything. Becoming an owner, what it takes to be, that, because on top of just the X's and O's on the field, on top of managing the personalities, he has comported himself in a way that is, commendable, where, you don't hear anything negative coming out of Shan's mouth at any time. And, he's one that is not afraid to ask questions. He's reached out to me as well as several other owners I've heard of whenever he's had questions. So I think if it's up to me, I'd say, hey, Shan, you got a team yesterday, but it's not up to me. It's up to the ensemble of owners, to, whomever we voted upon for, when tomorrow Cam reveals who, got decided by the owners to get, to be eligible and favorable enough with us, and what we think that they might be able to bring not only to the league, but also for themselves, whether it be the way they comport themselves or the fresh new ideas that they might have, to run a team, to promote the league, to promote their own team through different avenues and venues, is, what stands out, at least to me. And like I said, Shan's in the running for Coach of the Year. He's done a more than commendable job. His playoffs started like literally 6 weeks ago, and he made it into the dance, got Carolina their first sniff in the playoffs. And I mean, nothing but kudos could be thrown this man's way. That's all I can say about Shan.
Well, and in terms of Coach of the Year honors, let's go ahead and get into our honors for the year. We will start at the bottom. We're going to start with Game of the Year. I'll read off the candidates, and then we'll get into the winner. We'll talk about the game. Tallahassee, Carolina, Week 2. Tallahassee winning 31-24. The Skyhawks tie the game at 24 with 1:53 left. Pride take the lead with 1:17 left. Skyhawks are intercepted trying to tie at the Tallahassee 1-yard line as time expires for the Pride getting a victory at home. Dallas 30, Mexico City 27 in Week 3. The Roughnecks go for it on 4th down twice, once at the end of each half, converting drives into 10 points. Kicked a game-winning field goal with 11 seconds left. Then we go to Week 8. Las Vegas beats Tallahassee in a huge game, 49-42, as Kaleka returns the kickoff for a touchdown as time expires to put the Gamblers over the Pride. Two teams combined for 1,146 yards of offense. Then, also in Week 8, Sioux Falls bests Oklahoma City. The Renegades erase a 27-6 deficit with 8:04 in the third, but are stopped on a 2-point conversion. They missed 2 field goals inside 30 yards, had an extra point blocked as well. In Week 12, Houston beats Mexico City by 2, 26-24. The Hyenas blow a 23-3 lead, giving up 3 touchdowns in 6 minutes in the fourth quarter, only to go on a game-winning drive for a game-winning field goal as time expired. Week 14, Carolina beats Baltimore 31-24. I was on the call for this game. The Crabs tie the game with 1:25 left. Carolina regains the lead with 16 seconds on the ticker. Baltimore's pass is caught by Mike Osai, who's running down the right sideline as time ticks off and expires, and Blake Hamrack chases him down and tackles him short of the goal line to give Carolina, in turn, their first playoff berth under James Klein. And then in the conference semifinals, Alaska 37 over Houston's 34. Alaska comes back 34-16 was the deficit with 18 minutes remaining. They recover an onside kick a game winner with 13 seconds left, stop DR Sim 14 yards away on a similar play to Osai's, and Alaska moves on. I know Mighty might be a little bit biased in thinking that Alaska's was the best. Does anyone want to talk about which game they think was the best of the ones I just mentioned?
Well, the two which really stood out for me were the Carolina versus Baltimore game and the Alaska-Houston game. But for me, the way that nobody could possibly predict that Alaska would come back and get back into that game against Houston. Like my word, they were so far down, and the sequence of events that had to occur in order to get them back into that game and get them through was just so. You want to say impossible, but the fact that they managed to achieve it just shows how tough they were. I said I said during the game, I said that they just won't die, and that was absolutely the mantra for them.
Yeah, all of these games were very good. Are you guys ready to see the winner? Calm down now. Not everyone at once.
We're on the edge of our seat.
Clearly. Does anyone want to give me a drum roll, or are we just going to go right into this? The chat has no comments about who they think was the game of the year. They all are just bantering Cam about his mini golf date that's coming up. All right, no drum roll. We'll just go right to it. Here we go. The winner of the SFL's Game of the Year, Alaska over Houston in the semi-conference game. Damon wouldn't like that. He wasn't able to join us here, but the Alaska Storm defeating Houston with the onside kick. Second was Carolina over Baltimore, as Liam just mentioned, and third was Tallahassee over Carolina all the way back in Week 2. Those games are all on YouTube if you want to go back and watch. Woo, what a game. Mighty, talk to me a little bit about your heart here, because this was your playoff berth and your game. What were you going through in terms of in your head as this game was playing out?
I'm gonna tell you my wife's reaction. She was kind of weirded out because I was kind of getting loud throughout the house. Like while I'm watching the game, all the big plays happening. I'm rejoicing. I'm befuddled. I get angered, and she's like, "Why are you so loud?" I'm like, "Cause my team's playing. You ain't gotta be that loud." I'm like, "Okay, then get out the house," because the rest of my kids they're right along with me. They're watching. They're jumping up, giving each other high fives when the plays are good. They're mad right along with me when the plays aren't going good. So when we get down in the fourth, and my kids are like, "Dad, I do something big." I'm like, "Kids, I know it's coming. I have confidence." And next thing you know, STD is the start of the comeback. He returns that kickoff, and then Houston, instead of sitting on the ball, just giving Hawkins the rock and just bleeding the clock, they get nosy and try Evan once. And Evan takes it away. We score. They get nosy again. try Evan again. Evan takes it away again. And it's like, oh, and Mock finally calms down from his 4 interceptions in the first quarter, and then starts to find Robert Merrill down the sideline, a little quick out. And then if Houston finally gets nosy, try to take a quick out away, and Merrill hits him for a 25-yard post. And it was like, man, the last 8 minutes of that game, if you haven't watched it, you need to, because it's just madness. It's football at its finest. I'm glad I won, but even as as that outside periphery fan, that's why I love football, because anything can happen at any given time, no matter the level of preparation. So that's why I like the game. It could be someone else. Had it been someone else's game, I would still thought that game was awesome, just because of the things that led to that point and then the way it finished.
Yeah, and an incredible game. Congratulations to you, Mighty, for getting the win in that game. Eric, were you able to catch this game at all? What did you think about the way this played out? Have you ever seen an SFL game or a sim go the way that this game went for these two teams?
I mean, we've had some pretty crazy endings throughout the years, but like you said, the last 7.5, 8 minutes of the game was just so over the top, and it was enjoyable to I think anyone who just likes football in general. Ending like that, I'm sure. Obviously, the owners probably would have, or owners, coaches, players probably might prefer that it goes a different way, depending on what side you're on. But I think other than that, on the edge of your seat, back and forth. My wife sometimes will send me into other rooms when I'm watching games. So it's I get what Mighty's saying. It was a fun time.
Yeah, an incredible game from both sides. Again, congratulations to Alaska. Unfortunately, this was the game that knocked Houston out, the game that they'll be thinking about all year heading into next season. I'm sure they've already reviewed the tape. If you have not, it's on Simulation FL, our YouTube page. You can check that out, simulationfl.com. Let's move on to Coach of the Year. The nominees were Shan Varner, defensive coordinator for the beginning half of the season with Carolina, then turned into a head coach. After being promoted to head coach, he went 4-1. He was second in run defense this season, fourth in total defense, fifth in scoring defense, and helped Jamison Monroe, who as stereotypically has had a rough career in Carolina, to over 100 QBR in 5 of the last 6 games. He obviously pushed Carolina to the playoffs, as Mighty mentioned, had 6 games worth of playoffs, considering that 1 loss and they're out, and they made it. Next up, Steven Mullinex, the head coach for Dallas, has led the team to their first championship game, which will take place tomorrow. First in pass defense efficiency, first in sacks against, first in first downs, third in pass offense, fourth in scoring defense, and fifth in scoring offense. Eric Barkley, the head coach for Queen City, who's along on the call with us, as well as Shan, led his team to his 4th championship game appearance, first in run offense, first in run defense, second in scoring offense, second in total offense, third in first downs. Then we go to Tallahassee, where Thomas Paternitti, the offensive coordinator, is first in third down percentage, first in pass efficiency, first in pass offense, first in total offense, first in scoring offense, third in sacks against, and third in first downs. I know Shan would probably like himself to win. Eric probably will take the polite professional approach and say that he doesn't mind who wins as long as it betters the league. Let's go to Liam, because we'll go to Mighty. Mighty won this award last year. Mighty, out of the candidates, which one did you vote for and why? And what do you think it takes to be Coach of the Year?
To be Coach of the Year, you got to put your team in advantageous situations that they can then exploit, as well as being able to kind of impose your will somewhat on the opposition to kind of force them to do what you want them to do, and not the opposite. And in saying all that, that's why I voted for Shan. because I really liked. Listen, coming into the season, if y'all listen to last off season's all the shows, I loved Carolina's build and the way they surrounded Monroe with weapons, and it was all about putting in the latter half of the season, you were able to see Monroe at his best. Like, he had a great run, which propelled the whole Carolina team because he was the only person holding them back. The defense was there. Johnny English was doing just what Johnny English does. You know, Zeli and the cavalcade of receivers over there were just waiting for a signal color to get him the ball so they could do something with it. And Monroe finally showed up. And I want to give all the kudos to Shan. And Shan is who I voted for in that aspect.
Liam, in terms of being a coach yourself and watching this season, between the candidates I just mentioned, who stood out the most to you?
Yeah, I think Shan, obviously, when we had the change in staffing structure at St. Louis, after I came on board, the first team we came up against is Carolina, and they obviously had turned the corner when Shane came on board, because you look at the way that they played and just the incredible circumstances that surrounded them getting through to the playoffs was just, it blew my mind. I had them down. They were so good at the end of the season. I had them down as beating the Pride, and obviously it's disappointing that for Carolina that it didn't turn out that way. But you look at the incredible user base that they've got, and staff and players, and there's no way that I think you can look past anybody but Shan. Obviously Eric and Stephen have done tremendously in getting to the championship game, but in terms of the one person who has created such a substantial turnaround, it would have to be Shan. The only thing I would say that is that he might not be in that position if St. Louis hadn't beaten Atlanta. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Liam, they already voted for the expansion teams. There's no need to try and put your last foot in here. They already voted. That part is done.
I'm just going to put it out there. It's true.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Well, without further ado, the winner of the SFL's Coach of the Year, Shan Varner from Carolina, picks that one up. Eric Barkley from Queen City in the game tomorrow finishes second. Steve Mullinex, also in the game tomorrow, finishes third as well for the SFL's Coach of the Year this season. We got Shan on the line, so Shan, why don't you go ahead and give your speech now? I know you've been writing it.
Actually, I haven't. I've been, just living the life here. Listen to everybody say good things about me. And not just in the on the board here today, just in general, people sending me messages and things like that. So I think if I was going to take something away from this, I just honestly, I would have to thank my staff, because without Heath and Mark, all of us working together and getting the job done is much more rewarding than it is for me getting this. So I appreciate the Coach of the Year. I'll accept it. Thank you, Mighty, for all the kind words. But like I said, I couldn't have done it without my staff, and kudos to them.
Well, that's professionalism at its finest from the SFL's Coach of the Year. Again, we talked about Mighty converted an SFL Coach of the Year last year into an ownership bid. Shan will try and do the same tomorrow as we announce the expansion teams at halftime of the championship game. Let's now head to Owner of the Year, where we have another Carolina face in the fold. The first nominee is James Klein. The owner of Carolina had the most active user base for the second straight season. as well as steered his coaching staff amid shuffling promotions and new faces. We got Max Paul, who's on the call from Alaska, not only got the expansion team, led them to the playoffs in the first season, but has over 50% of his roster filled with active user players. I believe that's also on Discord, not necessarily just Slack, which is an incredible feat. And is also the only consistent member of the SFL podcast during the season. I believe Cam means ownership, but still, Max Paul, the only one who does that. Frank Gooden Jr. from Tallahassee also on the board, went 3-9. Went from 3-9 last season to 9-3 this season. Calls in after wins and losses to the postgame show consistently, as well as brought the former Mahler owner Thomas Paternitti on board to help turn his team around. They did so this season, as well as fought their way towards the top. Eric, you are an owner yourself. What do you think between these three candidates sets one of them apart?
You know, it was as with all our awards, it was a great field. I think what stuck out to me was I like what James has done with his teams, his active user base. He's got a bunch of guys helping him. You know, he's running it like an organization. You know, guys like me could learn a thing or four from him in that respect. So I think, you know, hats off to him for keeping those guys engaged and, you know, getting production and everything. This isn't meant to be a dig at him. You know, they had a rough start to the season, and he still kept those guys, you know, around in the room and talking and stuff. And not everyone's going to be able to do that. You know, I think that really sticks out.
That's a very fair point. Max Paul, obviously on this list. Shan worked with James on the Carolina staff, so you have the coach of the year working with a potential owner of the year. For me, I think all three are great guys. I think Frank's addition with T-Pat was an incredible ad for Tallahassee. Definitely helped them turn that team around, and that's a great addition for Frank to notice that and jump on it when he had the opportunity. But without further ado, the winner of the SFL's Owner of the Year is Alaska's Max Paul, who's on the call with us now. So like Shan, we'll give Mighty his time of day for his Owner of the Year speech. Max, it's all you, buddy.
I'm flabbergasted. I am to words, which is kind of difficult because I could talk with the best. Thank you. thank you, brothers. I guess, you know, being the only expansion team to make the playoffs and, you know, just putting a consistent team out there that, you know, though we might not have the most functional offense, it was, you know, something that could work. And, you know, you combine that with the defense that, you know, did what it did, as well as, you know, me being a contributor in many ways and trying to get people, you know, to jump on board, trying to keep the my own team active, even through, you know, whatever we went through this season. I just want to thank everybody for the recognition and appreciate the love as always. It's always nice to know you appreciate it.
Well deserved. Mighty, obviously a great run into the playoffs, as well as a very active base. You know, Optimus Klein, Beakley Jr., you know, you got some great guys on this team. And you know, I wish you the best in trying to keep them all next season, because they're going to be hot commodities in terms of this offseason.
They're all coming back.
They're all coming back.
They're all coming back.
Well, Mighty.
Well, I hadn't talked to him yet.
Oh, hey, you need a team first, sir. You need a team top.
Oh!
I think that's proven why he's Owner of the Year right there. So he's going to be cracking the whip. Just get those guys back.
Where you think you're going?
Sit back down. All right. Well, Max Paul wins Owner of the Year. Congratulations to him going from Coach of the Year to Owner of the Year. Let's go to the rookies. The Defensive Rookie of the Year nominations are Alex Dominguez, the defensive tackle for Alaska, 23.5 sacks this season, an SFL record, 34 tackles for loss, another SFL record, 58 tackles total. That is tied for the lead among D linemen this season. Ludacris, another defensive tackle from Atlanta, 14 sacks, which pales in comparison to the 23.5. 20 tackles for loss, both of which are fourth in the league. Ajamu Afolabi, the linebacker from Mexico City, 124 tackles, which is second in the league. 13 tackles for loss, which is 12th. 3 interceptions, which is tied for first among linebackers in the league. And another Aztec, Pablo Zamora, the strong safety from Mexico City, 9 interceptions, which is third in the league. 111 tackles, which is 8th. And he is one of 10 players in the league with an interception returned for a touchdown. Mighty, you have one of these players on your team in Big Sexy. Talk to me a little bit about how he affected your team this season.
The first 2 or 3 games were about trying to figure out how to use his talent to the best of his ability, kind of like the best kind of way, where I'm gonna put you in a place where your weaknesses are hidden and your strengths will just be, revealed. And it took me a minute, but once that, that minute was up, he just took off flying. Like, I remember he had 2 games where he had at least 5 sacks. So it was just crazy. And then, I could attest firsthand about running into that rookie linebacker from Mexico City, that Afolabi character. I can't stand him. Like, he's one of the few defenders that brings down Beakley without struggle on a regular basis. Like, if you get rid of him next year, Ramos, I won't mind. I'm just saying. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I see there. We have a great list in front of us. I can even talk about Zamora, the safety from Mexico City. Mexico City might not have the greatest defense yardage-wise or even point-wise, but because their offense was so prolific, you had to kind of match them point for point. And then trying to do that, trying to keep up and, make the game a race. That's where Zamora did most of his damage. When you got a little too loose with the football down the field, and interception! And Mexico City got another possession, and there they go, they scored again, and now you really got to throw the ball. And Zamora's still there in the way. So, great list of guys. I'm just happy that, Big Sec was in the running. Talking to him after yesterday, and he's like, "Man, I'm winning all these things right now." Like, calm down, big fella. Calm down.
And Cam makes a good point in the chat that he can only win one of the awards. I guess we're gonna show our hand a little bit here in terms of foreshadowing. Mighty, which one did you vote for? Did you vote for Afolabi or Zamora?
For the Offensive Rookie of the Year, I voted for Afolabi.
Okay, well, there we go. My graphic will go out the window because Dominguez obviously can't win 2 awards, and that means he might have won one of the ones going forward. If you are not looking at the Discord page, hopefully you'll ride with me here. The winner of the Defensive Rookie of the Year is Ajamu Afolabi, backer from Mexico City. I think that would give second place technically to Zamora to Ludacris, and then Zamora would take third. From my understanding of the rules, Cam can probably give a clearer picture in terms of later what the standings were, but one way, shape, or form, Ajamu Afolabi, the Defensive Rookie of the Year in the SFL. We'll move on quickly. Because we don't have the graphic, and that's really the only reason we're doing this, is for me to show off my graphical abilities. Let's head to Offensive Rookie of the Year. Here are the candidates. Ethan King, the quarterback for Tallahassee, 4,431 passing yards, which led the league, 39 touchdowns, which also led the league, 76% completion percentage, which led the league, and 110.2 QBR, which led the league. Justin Beakley Jr., the halfback for Alaska, 1,709 rushing yards, which is third in the SFL. 15 rushing touchdowns, third in the SFL. 340 the league and was 9 carries away from an SFL record. Next, Kendall Gilbert, the wide receiver from Baltimore, 1,365 receiving yards, which was 4th in the SFL, 15 receiving touchdowns, 1st in the SFL, 94 receptions, which is 10th. And then finally, Jared Cochran, the receiver from Tallahassee, 1,304 receiving yards, which was 5th in the SFL, 106 receptions, which was 3rd, 12 touchdowns, which was tied for 3rd in the league. We'll head to Eric. Eric, who do you think out of these candidates should be the one that kind of stands out?
I mean, I hate to be the diplomatic guy. They all stand out. I think, looking at the bigger picture of kind of the honors, I think my guy in this category is going to be Gilbert. I mean, 15 touchdown receptions his first year in the scene. And then he's 4th in yards. That's crazy for someone that's their first year. So I think for me, that would be the horse I'd be riding with.
All right, let's. What about Shan? Who do you think deserves the honor here?
I'm a running back kind of a guy, so I'm going to pick Justin Beakley, Jr. I mean, that's just amazing. First season. 3rd in rushing yards. That's amazing.
Well, and I think he gets overshadowed a little bit because you have Marcus Allen Bose. Thanks a lot, Eric. And then you have Johnny English. Thanks a lot, Shan. Those two guys kind of ran the doors off the building, and because of that, Beakley Jr.'s yards kind of gets pushed down into 3rd. Not to discredit what he's done this season. Liam, you're kind of unbiased here because Mighty kind of would want Beakley Jr. if I had to guess. Liam, who do you think deserves the honor?
Yeah, I mean, I think having a guy who you go to on every down, and certainly what Alaska have done is to go to Justin Beakley Jr. so often this season. Having a guy like that is huge. But for me, I mean, it's already been summed up by Eric. 15 touchdowns from Kendall Gilbert. That's just incredible numbers. So he would be my vote. I think obviously E.T. King for Rookie of the Year. He's obviously going to be looking for maybe some slightly more prestigious silverware, but for me, Kendall Gilbert, I would have to agree with Eric. I think he's done incredibly well this season.
Well, we won't waste any more time. The winner of Offensive Rookie of the Year is Justin Beakley Jr., the halfback from Alaska. He beats out Kendall Gilbert, as the two guys mentioned, as well as E.T. King, who, as Liam mentioned, is going to be looking for some bigger silverware. Mighty, do you want to say any words on behalf of Justin for us?
I'm sure he'd be very happy to know that he got this award, especially with the slow start, because like I said, the first couple of games I was trying to figure out how to best use the build that I selected. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me either. But once that he got over that slow start, I was able to maximize his abilities and put him in position to kind of be as effective as possible, and he was popcorning defenders left and right, and it was a thing of beauty until he ran to Afolabi. Stinking Afolabi. But besides that, like I said, I think he'd be pretty happy to know that he won this. He was Rookie of the Year, and he's on board for season 2 to see. Let's see what he could do for an encore.
That we will. All right. Now we get into some of the big silverware. Let's go ahead now and look at the candidates for Defensive Player of the Year in the SFL. There are the candidates, and I will read their lines of stats as I do with all the others. Alex Dominguez there in the top left gets the R for rookie, is the defensive tackle from Alaska. 23.5 sacks is an SFL record. 34 tackles for loss, SFL record. 58 tackles is tied for the lead among D linemen. Going to the right, Avery King, the linebacker for Carolina, 113 tackles, is fifth in the SFL. 19 tackles for loss is first among linebackers. Eddie Gage, the strong safety for Baltimore, 130 tackles, an SFL record for a defensive back. He beat his career high by 26 tackles. And then in the bottom right, the strong safety Troy LaShaw from Dallas has 15 interceptions, which is an SFL record, 251 interception return yards, which is also an SFL record, 2 interceptions for touchdowns, which is tied for the league lead, and 1.9 passes defended per game, which is third in the SFL. All right, Shan has a player in the bucket. Mighty has a player in the bucket. Eric and Liam do not. Let's start with Liam. Which guy on this list stands out to you?
It's got to be Alex Dominguez. I mean, he's just been an absolute monster. I just can't. I can't look past him. I think Troy LaShaw, for me, aside from Alex, he would have to be the other person that I would go to. He's been so instrumental in getting the Roughnecks to the championship game. I don't think there has been a better interceptor in, maybe I haven't been following the league all that long, but to see him, that SFL record for the interceptions and the amount of yards that he has gotten from getting those interceptions is just so impressive. But for me, Alex Dominguez, he's just knocked everybody out of the park with simply the amount of sacks. I mean, it's a big thing for, to take the quarterback out, and for him to do it, 23 and a half times is just so impressive. So he's got to be my vote, and even more impressive that he does it as a rookie. So
for me, I think Troy LaShaw needs to be talked about more. The guy had 15 interceptions, which is also an SFL record. Bringing 2 of them back for touchdowns is incredible. I mean, I think it's incredible that teams continued to challenge LaShaw despite him having that many interceptions. I mean, the guy was a monster all season. Alex Dominguez definitely deserves his due, and to do it as a rookie is even more incredible. But to me, Troy LaShaw is the guy that blows this out of the water.
One thing I'd quickly put in, Andy, you see there, you've got the two strong safeties. As Eric said before, to a degree, it's a copycat league. And what we're going to see is that safety position is going to be highly sought after. So it will be interesting to see just how popular that will be and how many of those safeties we will see being talked about for honors next season. So
it's a fair point. Very fair point. All right. Let's go ahead and get to the winner. I got to click my tabs here and get to the Defensive Player of the Year. And the winner for SFL's Defensive Player of the Year is Big Sexy himself, the rookie Alex Dominguez. We kind of tipped our hand earlier by not giving him Defensive Rookie of the Year. Thanks a lot, Cam. Either way, the rookie wins Defensive Player of the Year. Troy LaShaw gets second. Avery King files out in third. Mighty, another Alaska Storm member on the silverware list. Talk to me a little bit about Dominguez.
Oh, Big Sexy. He just, like I said earlier in the season, it wasn't the actual real thing when I see people like that. That's oh my big guy. He was a force to be reckoned with, man. It's just, wow. It's just hit. I know after games, Steven touched up when we were playing Houston. He abuses centers. Like, we line him up on the center and tell him, hey, he stole your lunch money, and just they let him go to get, run loose for the whole game, just beating up the center like he stole his lunch money for real. So, like, I'm happy that we had a, successful season in Alaska, and, our young guys were able to taste, success, and albeit we didn't get to where we wanted to be. And hopefully they understand that this is not the end of the road, but the beginning. And, this offseason, they'll go in, put in work, come back ready, thirsty, and, let's do this again, but let's finish the job this time. So that's about all I can say about the rookies on my team.
Well, I'll ask the tough question, Mighty. Is he coming back next season? Are you committing to a defensive tackle?
We had a face of the franchise competition in our team channel that ran all year. He won for both halves of the season, both the first and the second half. He won it running away. So he and Justin Beakley are fully committed because they are the winners of our face of the franchise competition. So yes, they will both be coming back next season to play for the Storm.
Well, good to hear. We will welcome Big Sexy back, the defensive player of the year in the SFL. All right, let's get to offensive player of the year. The candidates are as follows. We have Ethan King, the quarterback from Tallahassee. The rookie got the rookie R. He had 4,431 passing yards, which led the league. 39 touchdowns also leads the league. 76% completion percentage leads the league. 110.2 QBR leads the league. Marcus Allen boasts the halfback for Queen City, 2,218 rushing yards, an SFL record. Only 2,000-yard running back in a season in SFL history. 26 rushing touchdowns, which leads the league. Johnny English, the halfback from Carolina, 1,758 rushing yards, which is second in the league. 19 total touchdowns, which is second in the league. Fourth straight 1,000-yard season, which is incredible from the Carolina halfback, who has been a staple for that team for a lot of years. Jalen Miller, the wide receiver for the Sioux Falls Sparrows, 1,770 receiving yards, led the league. 14 touchdowns, second in the league. 97 receptions, which is ninth. Now, I want to preface this before we talk to Eric about Marcus Allen Bose. I want to preface this by saying that sometimes these SFL awards can become a little bit of a popularity contest, and that's something to keep in mind as we announce these winners, is that while the player, like Troy LaShaw might not have been the best player in the candidate, sometimes the popularity will push them above another player. Eric, you got Marcus Allen Bose on this list. Talk to me a little about him and the effect he's had on your team as you guys have made the championship.
I mean, he's the only reason that we're in the discussion. That guy doesn't get in the end zone 26 times in the regular season. We're done at the end of the regular season. If that guy doesn't average 7 yards a carry or 7.4 or 2, whatever it was, we're not making it to the postseason. He was the centerpiece of our team. We ran to set up the run, and then we passed to set up the run. So, it's that running back position was the heart and soul of the team, and his stats kind of proved it, and we were able to do the correct things this year.
Sure, and then we'll go to Liam. Liam, if you want to talk about which player here stands out to you, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it comes to the two running backs. We've obviously spoken about how good E.T. King has been over the course of the season, and Jalen as well has certainly been a massive part of the Sparrows' pass offense. They've obviously broken a number of records over the course of the season, but for me, what Bose has achieved with that 2,000 plus yards rushing season is simply incredible. My vote went for English though, for the when I first came to St. Louis, we obviously had a game plan for the Skyhawks, and the big key thing for us was to stop English, and we just couldn't do it. We did it for the first half, and then after the first half, we got so tired by trying to stop him. He just managed to break out and just caused us so much pain. and he's been doing that. He's been a constant threat for every single team in the conference. So for me, I would like to see English win the award just because he has been so dominant. He's not necessarily maybe been getting the acclaim that Bosch has had for the sheer numbers that Bosch has had, and certainly Bosch should get due credit for that. But I think English, you have to watch him play to really understand some of the driving force behind maybe the votes that he would get, because he's just impossible to bring down. He's so fast too.
Well, without further ado, and AJ Levy points out correctly that Jalen Miller is the only silver star in that group. So congratulations, give the props to Jalen Miller for making even the conversation as a silver star. And the SFL's Offensive Player of the Year goes to Johnny English, the halfback from Carolina, by 1 vote. 17 votes for English, 16 go to Marcus Allen Bose, who actually jumps Jalen Miller. Excuse my graphic up there. Marcus Allen Bose jumped into second last night in between the time I made this graphic and the time we're having this conversation. So he is in second with 16, and then Jalen Miller is third with 14 votes. So, Shan, you kind of babied and have fathered Johnny English, the 2-ton, 15,000-foot man. Talk to me a little bit about his effect on Carolina.
Well, first off, do you know how hard it is to run 1,758 yards with a whole team on your back?
It's even harder when you're that tall.
Well,
not to crush any of your team, you know?
Well, just going to add to that, he's been amazing for us. He's one of those guys that you can count on to get that 2 more yards, that 3rd down and 2, 3rd down and 3, whatever you need, he can get it done. And, everybody knows that he's the pinnacle of our organization. So I'm really happy for him to get this award this year. Unfortunately, he will be retiring at the end of this year. So
no. Oh yes.
I don't know how to or yes. That. Liam hasn't decided how he feels about it yet, but was reacting along live. I don't think anyone besides maybe Shan or me knew that. People probably inferred, but Shan drops a little gem, and now we have the breaking title for the first SFL's drama, English done for the year.
Well, it's just one of those things, and it does great because when you have Johnny English and he is your go-to guy, everybody hones in on him. So when everybody hones in on Johnny English, it makes a great way for you to exploit the defense. If you have a pretty decent quarterback and you can get your guys open.
Sure.
So you can turn a season around.
And we wish him the best as he retires. The man as heavy as an elephant and as tall as a giraffe. We wish him the best in retirement. I don't know if Eric knows what Marcus Allen Bose's plans are for next season. I'm sure he would like to retain the leading Corsair rusher who has over 2,200 yards this season.
Unfortunately, Marcus Allen Bose, since he is no longer an active member of the league, the player will be retired. So
man, two rushing.
There'll be new running back in QCC,
and that paves the way for Mighty's Beakley to step up. Is that right, Mighty?
I wish it was that simple. But football is not played on paper; it's played on grass fields. So he's going to have to go out there and produce to be the best. So
it's also played on Cam's Xbox. So
that too.
It's gonna be a massive change in the guard because you're seeing already that 2 of the offensive players of the year have already basically been ruled out of the running for next season, and certainly, I mean, my reaction. I know it seems quite funny, but I'm desperately disappointed to see that English isn't going to be playing. But I'm also glad that I won't have to game plan against him if it does turn out that I do have a team, whether it be in St. Louis or in London. So it's going to be a very interesting to see who is going to break out. There could be some rookies in the running for that particular award next season.
Well, that's
Sure.
a good thing that we had that vote then, isn't it?
It is good that we had the vote. All right, and that leaves us with this, the SFL's MVP, the final award to be announced tonight. The MVP obviously stands for Most Valuable Player on a league level. Let's talk about the candidates. The rookie got the red R, Ethan King, the quarterback for Tallahassee, 4,431 passing yards, led the league. 39 touchdowns, led the league. 76% completion percentage, led the league. 110.2 QBR, led the league. Marcus Allen Bose, the halfback for Queen City, set to retire. 2,218 rushing yards in his last season, an SFL record. Only 2,000-yard halfback in SFL history, and 26 rushing touchdowns, which also led the league on the season. Another rookie is in the running, Alex Dominguez, the defensive tackle, 23.5 sacks is an SFL record, 34 tackles for loss, an SFL record, 58 tackles is tied for the league lead among defensive linemen. Troy LaShaw, the strong safety for Dallas, 15 interceptions was the SFL record this season. 251 interception return yards was an SFL record. 2 interceptions for touchdowns, which led the league, tied with another member. And 1.9 passes defended per game, which was third in the league. We have one winner already on here in Dominguez. So I think, unfortunately, we'll have to rule him out. But let's talk about these other candidates for a little bit here. I think what Ethan King did, or E.T. King, excuse me. I have Ethan on there. It should be E.T. Cam has Ethan in the MVP point too, so not my fault. I'll put my hands up like I accidentally bumped someone on the football field and they're trying to flop on me. I think him and Troy LaShaw, as well as Marcus Allen Bose, all deserve to be in the conversation for this award. What LaShaw did was amazing. What Marcus Allen Bose did in his last season was absolutely incredible. But for me, it's Ethan King with the rookie nod. That little red R means so much for him to have done what he did for Tallahassee, which fell just shy of the championship game. We'll head down the line here. Shan, which one of these guys reaches out to you as the clear-cut MVP?
I have to go with my boy Ethan King. He's a quarterback, rookie year, very impressive numbers. Not everybody can do that, and he's done it. Great offensive coordinator. I just think that he stands out among this group here. Troy LaShaw, the 15 interceptions, that's just amazing. But for me, it's going to be Ethan King.
Mighty, what about you?
The way Tallahassee's offense was a machine this season, and it was spearheaded by, E.T. King, was just ridiculous. Like, I believe they averaged 35 points a game, which led the league. And just because of that, just give the man the award. It's his. Like, he's MVP. Like, that turnaround in Tallahassee, E.T. King is the reason for that turnaround.
Liam, who do you got here?
Yeah, I think he could give the award to any of these players and people would say, well, that was absolutely deserved. The fact that E.T. King playing the most important position, the one position that at the end of the day does get you the points, and to play it so well as a rookie quarterback, he's absolutely deserving of the MVP award. I'd definitely give a shout out to Troy LaShaw though, because he's the only one here who's in the championship game. So for him, it's going to be.
Well, Marcus Allen's in there too.
Marcus, yeah, and Bo. Sorry, you've got the two guys there in the championship game. So for them two guys, the MVP, you can put it to one side. E.T. King next season, his absolute focus, I think, will be on the championship game if he does get the nod for the MVP. at the end of your career, you're going to be looking back at the rings that you've got as maybe opposed to the MVP awards that you've got as determiner of just how great you really are. It obviously helps having the MVP award there as well, but for the Bosch, that's obviously with him retiring, there's going to be an even bigger consideration for him to have. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in championship game for those two guys, but certainly for E.T. King, if he wins the MVP, that would be absolutely deserved.
And Eric, finish us off. Who do you think deserves it?
You know, I've had this pun saved up all show that I've been waiting to use, and I hope you know, this is a younger league, so some folks might not get it. I hope you do. But E.T. can phone this one home.
Whoa!
Oh my gosh!
Can I actually just add something to that? I think
Sure.
After last week, Eric obviously sent E.T. home, but
Oh my goodness!
Man.
Yikes!
Oh my goodness!
Usually I'm the one with the bad puns, and out of nowhere, Eric and Liam steal the show.
Oh,
Literally,
my
they stole the show.
Hey,
Well,
this is
all
a
right.
league. This is a league of taking things from other people.
This is a league of bad jokes. You're right, Shan. All right. Without further ado, the SFL's MVP, E.T. King, the quarterback and rookie from Tallahassee, well-deserved. Marcus Allen Bose, unfortunately, second place again. Troy LaShaw, third for the SFL's MVP. Let me make sure those numbers are correct. And indeed they are. 28 votes for Ethan King, 15 for Marcus Allen Bose, and 9 for Troy LaShaw. Big Sexy gets 6 of them. An incredible season by E.T. King. Thomas Paternity obviously helped that, but Frank Gooden Jr., great work from the Pride in order to get E.T. King in the right position. None of us here are from Tallahassee or have anything to do with that, so we can't really give him the speech he deserves. Let's wrap this thing up because we've been on for a while, and I want to put the focus back on the game tomorrow. I don't want this thing to go for too long here. Tomorrow, the SFL's Winter 17 SFL Championship, Sunday, May 7th. That's tomorrow, 5 Central, 6 Eastern. The Queen City Corsairs taking on the Dallas Roughnecks. Eric will be there in full coaching gear with his play sheet ready to go against Stephen Mullinex and the Roughnecks. SimulationFL.com if you want to be a player. YouTube.com/SimulationFL. It'll be YouTube.com/SimulationFL/live if you are trying to catch the game at 6 Eastern, 5 Central. We'll do everyone pick a winner and give me one thing to look out for in terms of next year. We'll start with Shan.
The MVP for next season.
Okay. You're saying look out for the MVP? What are you saying here?
Well, I would have to probably go with.
No, Shan, I'm asking you to pick the winner of the game and then one thing that you want us all to look out for coming next season.
Sorry, I was reading something else.
You're good. I'm trying to correct you so you don't look like an idiot. I can't ask you to pick the MVP. I can't ask you to pick the MVP when we haven't played a game.
Queen City. Going with Queen City.
He's taking Queen City, and then one thing to look out for next season.
The running back from Queen City.
Whoever it may be.
Whoever it may be.
All right, fair enough. Mighty, to you.
Queen City. They've shown an ability to be able to come back when down. So if Dallas isn't careful, if they were to take the lead tomorrow, and think that the game's in the books and start to relax, that basically that lower tier star defense, the only upper tier star in that defense is Loshaw, having to take down Marcus Allen. Yeah, that's not gonna look too pretty. So I like Queen City tomorrow. And for next season, if the team builds that I think I have in mind for the expansion owners is what I think is going to be, next season. If you want to play DB, next season's the time to play DB. That's all I got to say.
Very well might be. Liam, to you, a potential expansion owner.
I'm just gonna say forget everything that Mighty's just said because we're not gonna be giving away our plans so soon, my friend. So this game is just. I recall the last time that we picked the Corsairs to win a game on the podcast. Maybe not in the regular season. It turned out to be the Tallahassee game where we all got roundly embarrassed. So I'm extremely hesitant to do it. But knowing Eric's record in the championship game, it's very difficult to look past them. But I think this is going to be. It's going to come down to a field goal, and Queen City will win it. I think Dallas. I've got a good relationship with Stephen Molnax. He's a good guy. Dallas will absolutely run this close, but I think the dynasty that is the Queen City Corsairs is just going to continue onwards because they have been so good in these championship games. For next season, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with regards to the expansion teams, whether or not I'm going to be one of the owners. For me, having to game plan for either the Knights or the Gladiators against one of those teams is going to be it's going to be an interesting struggle because obviously when you have these three new teams, you're going to completely you can't really go back to the tape on them. You have to have a look at how they've played so far this season. Like imagine going up against one of those expansion teams in the first week, and all you've got is a roster to look at and see So how are we going to play this, and how are they going to play it? So that will be interesting to see what happens. I'm very curious to see. You've seen expansion teams have varying levels of success this season, and certainly being with St. Louis, we've seen how a team can turn things around even after a difficult start and manage to create something great. And we did it, I think, particularly well. We won our championship game the last week of the regular season to create history for Carolina. So that will be the one of the big things for me, the expansion teams. But next season is going to be a very good season. I think everything is looking up.
For me, I'll jump in here before Eric does because he's just going to give us a nonpartisan approach, I would assume. For me, I think it's going to be a good matchup. At the top of the broadcast, I wouldn't declare who I thought might come out on top. For me, I think as much as Eric tries, I played Dallas in these playoffs not in the playoffs, excuse me, in the week before the playoffs, which was a playoff game for me pretty much. They're stout against the run. I think Mighty brings up their lack of stars that can stop the run. They do it somehow. And I had Mike Tatum, who is a very strong back in LA. And whether it was in my Sims or in the game that I saw, they were pretty stout against the run. I expect that again from Dallas. Steve knows what he's doing, and I think his first championship comes tomorrow. No offense to Eric. I just don't think this build is strong enough to get him past this Dallas team that has a cavalcade of wide receivers. But who knows? I could be wrong. Eric, what do you think about the game tomorrow, and what are you looking forward to in the upcoming season? If he's still here, he might have checked out on us. I think he might have checked out. Well, so I think for season 9, I believe it'll be the summer 17 season. Make sure to keep an eye out for those expansion teams like Liam talked about. Those will be announced tomorrow. Liam and Shan, good luck to both of you in terms of trying to get an expansion team. I hope you both get it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Championship tomorrow, May 7th, 5 Central, 6 Eastern. We'll see you all there. It'll be a party. Bring your popcorn. Mighty, any last words?
I can't wait for tomorrow. For our
Neither-
our people on the Pacific, it's 3 p.m. Pacific time. Just don't want y'all to feel left out.
There you are.
It's tomorrow is going to be a very good game. It's going to be a very close game because it's a battle of styles. One team has receiver weapons while the other team doesn't have many DBs to defend them. The other team has lower tiered defenders having to stop Marcus Allen. So it's going to be a back and forth, and whoever can impose their will the best and for the longest stretch is going to pull it off. Because you could win a quarter, you could win a half. That doesn't mean you're going to win the game. So that's all I got to say about that.
Sure. Cam, Demond, and company on the call tomorrow. We wish the best to Steve as well as Eric, as well as every potential expansion owner. For SFL Network, this has been the SFL Podcast. Thank you all for watching. Peace.
Peace.
See ya.
Deuces.